Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Carry-On Friends, the Caribbean American podcast. I'm excited, I'm smiling, I'm seeing my guests because I know it's going to be vibes and it's going to be energy. Kadion, welcome to the podcast. How are you?
Thank you so much, Kerry-Ann. It's my pleasure to be here, meeting you in New York and connecting and talking about what we're doing in the Caribbean community is awesome. So I'm ready.
Awesome. All right. So let's back up and tell the community of friends a little bit about who you are. I think they might know the Caribbean country you represent, but we're going to tell them anyway and the work that you do.
So who am I? Kadion Preston, born and raised in Kingston, Jamaica. Went to school there, Vass Prep, St. George's College, moved to New York to do my tertiary education at Hunter College. My mom was an entrepreneur, so I lived that life growing up. I had my first business in high school. I used to be the mixtape guy. I used to sell you Stone Love and Silverhawk mixtapes. I did that for almost, 4 years in high school and almost never graduated because the principal, Mr. Stevenson, told me, Preston, if you don't stop selling mixtapes on the school, you're not going to graduate. And I passed all my CXCs with flying colors. I did not fail not one CXC, and I had 2 1s and the rest 2s. So my parents bought my ring, my George's ring, and my whole graduation outfit, and I had to go home and tell them, Mr. Stevenson, catch me on school selling again, and I might not be able to graduate. My dad said, that's your problem. We're going to graduation, so you need to figure it out. And that story was interesting because I had to figure out what angles I go into Mr. Stevenson to convince him to allow me to graduate as a George's man when he warned me that if he catch me again, I'm not going to graduate. So I had to tell him that, look, dude, does he want to be the man that doesn't allow me to be the entrepreneur that I want to be? And eventually somebody who's going to come back and represent St. George's College in a positive way. Is that what he's promoting? Because I'm doing honest business here. And so he gave me a lecture about listening and discipline and what it means to be successful, and discipline is a part of it. And he's going to let me off the hook now. But if I don't implement discipline in my life and stop trying to break the rules, then I won't be as successful as I want to be. So big up, Mr. Stevenson.
Whoa, I love that story. I love that story because, Kadion, let me tell you, I mean, me did feel you're cool, but you're cool on another level because, trust me, I was that one girl. Listen, Stone Love, Bass Odyssey,
yeah, man.
All of them things there, and me have the cassette and me race up the man them because, listen, give me back my cassette. Like that. That's just how I used to operate.
The nexus of how that started was too funny. Like, my best friend in high school, his father owned a strip club, and all the DJs would come play there. So we'd tell the DJs, like, look, bring the originals to the club. And Dane used to get them right before he goes home, before the club got pumping. And our brethren, whose father owned a wholesale, and we used to buy the 10-pack TDKs. I used to buy 100 TDKs a week. And literally, after homework done, I'd be on mom's tape deck that had, A and B, and running them off in the night. And then Dane was running off his, and we'd have 50 each day that we were selling to the whole school of the latest mixtape. That was life.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Just bring back memories, of
Bass
tape life.
Silverhawk, Stone Love.
With Sky Juice, Metro Media.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
We could go on and on about this.
Those days, the clashes I made so much money off of that going through the years. It was just ridiculous.
But as you said, like, those are early, glimmers of entrepreneurship. We just thought of it like, we just had to do a thing, but those were the early signs. And you said you went to George's. I think we had a former George's man on the podcast, to Marlon Hill.
Yes. So can I tell you something about Marlon Hill? Me and Marlon talk all the time. Marlon used to go to the prep school I go to. He used to go to the high school I go to. And we played on the same football teams. We have the same coach. We have so much in common that eventually we have to work together because Marlon's amazing.
Absolutely. I love Marlon. All right. So we talked about the early beginning of the entrepreneurship, and great stories, but we haven't quite told the audience. So you went to Hunter, and then what next?
So if we're going into story time, is that what we're doing? Story time?
Yeah, man, we love tell story. I'm the queen of storytelling.
Let's go. All right. So New York was kind of a getaway for me. I wanted to come off the island because I got brokenhearted. Little boy. Well, run from Jamaica because your girlfriend mash up your heart. I think when I moved to New York, my older brother was there. He was going to Pace University. My parents didn't want me to leave. They wanted me to finish up school at UWI. And I moved to New York. I said, I'm paying for school myself. They're like, well, that's what you're going to have to do because we're paying for UWI. We're not paying for your brother gone and now you going to go. And that's not the plan. So if you're going to do what you want to do at 19 years old, then you go and you figure it out. So sign up for Hunter. Right when I was walking out, they were like, who wants to sign up for internships? And I saw everybody going about them business. I'm like, I need to hustle. I just came wet off the boat. I walked in, sign up. I want an internship. Don't care where it is. I just want to work. My brother said, yo, I have a job for you at the Daily News where you're going to call people and literally convince them to take back their subscription on the Daily News. And you can work that job in the afternoons. You can work that job on the weekends. And you get bonus each time you get somebody to retake the subscription, right? Cool. I remember I got told that, yeah, you got accepted for an internship. This was 98. And I got accepted for an internship at Yahoo. And I was like, whoa. So I was leaving school on 62nd, going down to Empire State Building, reporting to the 72nd floor. That was the office of Yahoo that I was working at, like in a mailroom, like just doing anything, a schlepper. But a couple months in, and I'm in the lunchroom one day, and the CEO for at the time, which is Yahoo Desktop Ticker, his name is David. I'll remember David's last name in a minute. He was in the lunchroom, and one of the things that growing up I used to hate with a passion is because my mom was a country girl from Hanover, right? And my dad grew up in Hanover also because my grandfather was a coconut farmer. So long story short, when mom moved to Kingston, she was working at Woolworth. She got a visa and she migrated and to work. She didn't finish high school, but she had enough smarts on her that anything that she was doing it towards a goal. So when mom moved back home and was working, she learned the textile industry. And so she was buying and selling. But what most people call, because my mom was dark-skinned black woman, beautiful black woman, they call them higglers. But they were business people, but they're hustlers at the end of the day. So my mom went through probably 6 different categories of businesses. You name it, from children's clothes to textile to household items. And one day I remember we sitting down at the family table and I said to my dad, I'm going to open up my own children's store because parents will always spend on their children. And I made a contact at the airport with Oshkosh Bagosh, and I'm going to get the distribution for them for Jamaica. My father was like, how are you going to fund that? Blah, blah, blah. Whatever. Entrepreneurs should figure it out. You jump out of the plane and you build a parachute. So she did that. Long story short is she became successful. But during the process of her becoming successful, the thing I hated the most was my mom would always pick us up from school and pull up to a store and tell us to grab the suitcase out of the trunk and waltz it into the store behind her where she'd meet a manager, just walk up and have a conversation and ask them if they want to see her samples. And she would sell right then and there. Growing up, I hated that. But that taught me to be fearless and be open to having any conversation with anybody, right? So I didn't have any fears of dealing with people because I had to deal with it at a very young age. So the CEO is sitting there by himself in the lunchroom. Now back to the Yahoo story. And I walk up to him and I introduce myself and say, hi, I'm Kadion. I'm from Jamaica, blah, 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 blah. I'm going to Hunter. Really nice to meet you. I see you on the wall. What is it like being a CEO of a big company? He said, sit down. I had a conversation, talking. He's like, what do you want to do with your life? I'm like, well, I was doing food and beverage management at UWI in Jamaica, and I'm here now and I'm doing technology because it's the hottest thing. And I don't know if I want to be a programmer or an engineer. My brother's a programmer and he's about to graduate. So just trying to figure it out. He said, all right, cool. He says, Kadion from Jamaica. Nice to meet you. Next day I show up at my internship. There's a letter saying report to the 77th floor. And I basically shadowed him for a year and a half. and went in every single department and was lucky enough to just absorb, soak up, learn from people who were doing things at a high level. That when I graduated from Hunter, my first job was out in Great Neck, New York at a Wall Street trading firm. And I was hired as a junior technician to support the network. Because at that time, early 2000s going into 2001, prop trading was the biggest thing in New York, right? Offices of traders. So we're working out in Great Neck. They offered me a salary that I thought was out of this world. And I was getting paid $40,000 a year just fresh out of college. And I was like, wow, this is nice. And I lived in the Bronx at the time, so it was easy. Come over the Throgs Neck Bridge, and 15 minutes I'm at work. And it was a totally different world, Kerry-Ann. Like, totally. I was looking at people making 5, 10, 30,000, 40,000, $50,000 a day just trading. And I was like, what the freak? And there was one little thing in my contract that I signed that says, the company pays quarterly bonuses based on how the firm does. And my first check was my first bonus. I brought it back to HR. I was like, did you guys make a mistake? Like, this is like almost more than my salary. And that happened like 3 times for the year. I was like, wow, it's a different life. So long story short, one of the traders that was working at Great Neck, one of the top traders, partnered with somebody and opened a big firm on Wall Street and opened up an office in World Financial and recruited me to come and run his office. And at that time, I was probably like 22, turning 23, and he wanted me to run the entire technical operations. I thought I was like, what the hell? He's having 150 traders. I'm 23. I work hard, and I know a lot, and I was quick, but you want me to be the head tech guy running a trading floor at World Financial Center? It's just like mind blowing. Long story short, I became the CIO after like 6 months, and this guy who is till today one of my mentors, started building and blowing up on Rapid. Him and his partners opened up a satellite office in the World Trade Center. We were building out an 18,000 square foot office on Maiden Lane, Crosstown. We opened up an office in LA. We opened up an office in San Francisco. We opened up a satellite office in Palm Beach. And I was doing all of this and doing it at a level that, being exposed on a level that it happened just by chance, just by being in the right place at the right time and taking advantage of the opportunities that presented itself and being capable of taking advantage of the opportunities when they present themselves. It all started off with just me saying hello to David. A lot of people were in the room, but he was just sitting by himself. People were scared to say hello to him. I walked up and said hello to him. I didn't have that fear. And from that, I got a lot of experience, and just the lessons I've learned growing up helped me to be fearless. And because I should have turned down the job when you're offering me, after a year and a half in my career, you're telling me to come run your office, right? He was a fairly young guy, and for him to believe in me, it was beyond motivating. But while doing that and growing, I loved New York. New York was like everything to me. But 9/11 kind of happened, and I was there, and I lost a lot of people during 9/11. I mean, our office was on the 86th floor. The funny thing is, I can remember that day like yesterday, because it was a Jewish holiday. If everybody remembers it correctly, it was a Jewish holiday, and the owners of my company were Jewish, so they were home. So the only 2 C-level people at the time were me and the head of operations in the office. And when the first plane hit, it was before 9:30. And we always have a rule on the trading floor, like nothing happens before 9:30. Like you don't make any changes. Nothing is done crazy until after 4:30. Like whatever is going on before 9:30, we live with it, we'll make it work. And when the first plane hit, so my building shaked, and we were on like the 15th floor, if I remember correctly. I go downstairs, elevator still worked, and I go outside, and I'm like, what the F? And I was like, shit. I was in my head, I was like, this is Armageddon. I'm done. This is what the hell is going on? And right before I go back upstairs, I see the second plane coming around. I'm like, what the F? Right? So I hightail it back upstairs. I call the owners, and in the middle of that call, all phone service and cell phone service, went down. I just got enough word in to tell them, like, there's war going on. I thought it was war. And we got to hightail it out of here. And we shut down all pre-market trades, grabbed all the backups. And by the time that I made the decisive decision, which when I was telling him, he's like, what the hell are you talking about? The phone cut out. We started shuffling the team downstairs. The alarms went off in the building and we had to take the stairs. And by the time we got downstairs, I think I stood up at the World Financial Center after figuring out that my phone was never going to work. And the team that was on the 86th floor was, I just hired 2 new engineers, Jamaican at that, to go work in that office. And I'm like, holy shit. The worst part is standing there for an hour, seeing people jump out the window, seeing this building crumble. I was just like, yeah, it's going to be a rough day today. So long story short is I felt like the building was going to fall. So my car was parked because I was staying at the corporate apartment in Battery Park. And I just jumped in my car and went up to the Bronx to my brother's house and watched everything unfold. And it was a rough day. It changed my love for New York.
Boy, I really wanted you to tell that story because we don't talk about the impact within our community of that day. Everybody talk about it from New York, but to hear your personal story, I don't even talk about where I was that day and what was happening. I was working at Broadway and Bleecker, and I was getting out the 6 train that gets off at Bleecker and Lafayette. And I remember hearing it, and we're just thinking that not some truck, because when the trucks drive this, so they make whole heap of noise. And somebody said a plane went in the building, and in my head, I'm thinking those little Cessnas because 2 weeks before Aaliyah died. So you're thinking a plane, You're not thinking like
Aaliyah died 2 weeks before. That's a good memory.
Yeah, believe me. So it was just like, what? And you work with white folks, you follow them when you're curious. So we went on top of the building, typically, people said, would I run? But I didn't know what I was running to. That's New York rule 1. Before you run, what are you running? Yeah, where you going and where you're running from. And we stood on the roof, saw when the second plane hit. And then we came back down, was making calls, trying to figure out where's open, where are we going to go? Can we go over the bridge? And yeah, it was just like right there. It was so close and building dropping. It was just crazy. So just you telling that story and your relationship with New York has changed. It's changed for all of us because that was the day when you were no longer like absent-minded. That's the day we went from if you see something, say something type thing, lifestyle. Yeah. So
like I had PTSD the day we had the blackout. The day we had the blackout, I had PTSD.
Oh my gosh.
Like I literally hightailed it to Harlem from Maiden Lane over 150 blocks. I had PTSD that day.
Listen. Oh my God, we survived so many New York things. So we survived blackout, transit strike, 9/11, all of these things. So, all right. So you experienced 9/11. What happened after that? How long were you still in Wall Street working?
At least another year and a half. It was a rough time. Went to a lot of funerals. Lost a lot of people that I knew. I lost a mentor that was really good to me at the time. We were building a big office across town to bring both offices together. And we finished up the office probably like 2 months later and started operations. And then I think a year I started planning my move, whether I was going to move to San Francisco or Miami. I'd started spending a lot of time in San Francisco because we had an office there. And then Miami won because I was closer to family in Orlando. I have like 100 members of family in Orlando, so it was plausible. But long story short, it took a year and a half. Yeah.
We still haven't told the people what you're doing, but we're going to get there because it's story time. Sure. So you, Kadion, you are the founder of Caribshopper.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me how Caribshopper came to be.
Shoot.
I mean, I kind of get a sense of it. So if everybody's following the story, mommy, daddy, everybody at Igla, Osla, everybody
Yeah,
doing the thing.
yeah,
So,
yeah,
the mixtape from high school, all of, we always are going to sell something.
yeah. We always
It's
get
just
set.
how we're going to sell it.
So, long story short was, my brother and I had owned our own consulting firm, and then we built what we call an MSP, a managed service provider. We build out networks, we build out software integrations. We had started that company right before we moved to Miami, and we moved it down to Miami, and we built it up into a sizable firm, which I'm very proud of. Me and my brother, we worked really hard, and we built that company and sold it. And we sold that company, we were thinking to ourselves, what's next? And in our thought processes, and in a conversation, a good friend of ours, we were looking at what problems are there to fix, and we wanted to do something dear to home because we always have this dream of moving back to Jamaica before we're old and gray. Unfortunately, I'm gray now, but I'm going to get there before I'm old.
But at least you're close enough to visit. I'm still in New York where it's still $1 million just to fly to Jamaica. You're close enough.
So we started looking at big challenges. And because of our experience in building technology, we looked at e-commerce activation. We started looking at this in 2016, and then we built the first version of Caribshopper in actually 2017, which was a completely different direction. Caribshopper was enabling Caribbean consumers to shop online to all the major retailers in the US and receive their products in the islands delivered directly to their door. We built that first version of Caribshopper, what we call the MVP, to be in 5 countries. We're in Jamaica, Trinidad, Antigua, St. Lucia, and Turks and Caicos. And we did really well in Cayman, Antigua, and Turks and Caicos. Jamaica and Trinidad, we went up against the freight forwarders big time, and we did okay. And I think at the end of 2018, my brother and I looked at each other and was like, in our business plan, we have what we call Project Grow Local, which is what we really wanted to do. But we felt like this was the most primed area that we could build a brand out of. And we started in that direction. And then we said, in this business, we don't own the customer, and all we do is facilitate a transaction. And we've learned enough over time that we need to own the customer. And this is not fulfilling for us to help people to shop international brands and import and all of this stuff, right? Even though we come from that background, buying and selling, we said, what if we were able to help manufacturers in the Caribbean like really scale internationally, right? Trade of Caribbean-made goods is primarily done by legacy and scale. Companies are big, and we know that the infrastructure that living in the US have, it's very hard for a small or medium business to get to legacy and scale, right? They just don't have enough. The governments don't have enough and haven't put enough support to help companies to grow, right? And it was easy for them to focus on what was easy for them, tourism and BPOs. It was hard to look at manufacturing. If everybody thinks back in the 70s, Jamaica was big in textile, big in manufacturing. And once it went to the West, it never came back, which is for most countries, right? But we live in a different time where consumers are more advanced in their thinking and knowing and deciding what they want and what they want to support and what they want to be a part of. So we said, you know what? Let's take 2019, let's wind down the business as it is, and let's take 2019 to see if Project Grow Local is ready. And I actually did that for 2019. I traveled a lot and went to different Caribbean countries and spoke to manufacturers, spoke to brands. And what I noticed is number one, it was a ton of women. Women are kicking men's ass. So 60% of the small business, medium business I'm meeting, they're owned by women, and they're going through all of these roadblocks, all of these challenges, and doing a hell of a job. And it was helping me to get more convinced to doing this because I kept on looking at a mirror. And then having some meetings, I was in Atlanta, I think, and I sat down with one of my mentors who was a big guy at UPS, and he was helping me figure out how to simplify logistics cross-border. And he said, this conversation excites me. I'm 20 years in at UPS. I'm going to hand in my resignation today and I'm going to come work for you. And I was like, whoa, 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 whoa. Like, what do you mean? I was like, when Tom said that to me, I was frightened. I was like, we haven't even started a company. This is just conceptualization. He's like, well, I'm going to take early retirement. So you let me know if you want. No pressure. But this is what I want to do. And I was like, holy shit. The next day, I called up my brother and I said, this is what Tom's doing. He's like, well, I guess we're going to have to do this. And we said, we've done enough of conceptualization. Let's hit the ground running. And so the vacation ended and the work started. And from there, rolled right into COVID and was like, what the front door? Like, what the front door?
I just made a note, 2019. Me say, well, on the Kadion, your timing, we go from 9/11, come back now to 2019, pandemic, right? Yeah. And you're building a company or getting ready to.
So we started putting things together in probably October 2019 and getting things going, recruiting our team and blah, 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 and then here comes COVID. And for a moment there, sitting back, trying to figure out how is this going to impact, seeing all the changes, they're happening really fast. Just hired 4 people and, paying that out of pocket and trying to feel it out, trying to figure out what the hell. The kickoff game plan that we had of how we're going to acquire merchants, how we're going to grow the brand, that whole plan changed right through the door. We're going to have events once a week, tell them what we're doing and sign them up and push and meet and greet and get to understand the market. And none of that was going to happen anymore. Trying to figure it all out with all the changes. And I remember, I think it was March, April, I had a call with another one of my mentors. Mentors are good in life, and you got to pick them very wisely. And I remember sitting down and talking to my mentor, and he said to me, he said, I hear your concern. He goes, but history, his name is Andre. Andre said, history repeats itself. He said, I've seen this before. And I said, really, where have you seen it? He says, well, before we had COVID, we had SARS. I said, true. And he said, go look at the company that grew within SARS. And I just Google search, which company did extremely well through SARS?
Amazon?
Nope.
No?
Alibaba.
Not quite Amazon, but similar. Yeah.
Alibaba. And then I started reading a news article and it's like, this is exciting. Kept on reading. SARS was contained in Asia, right? Alibaba's was changing the way businessmen would buy manufactured product in China, right? And Asia, for that matter. Most people would say, I'm jumping on a plane to go meet my manufacturer, right? I'm going to build my mold, and then I'm going to order my quantity. Most people were doing that cross-transatlantic flight. Alibaba was saying to you, there's an easier way to do it. You can just view the manufacturer, view their sales, view what they do, make the deal here, buy, and it's shipped to you, right? That business behavior didn't change until SARS, till nobody could travel into the country. And then the adoption rate of Alibaba went 350%. I said, holy shit, it's the same thing. So if it's the same thing, in a sense, it's going to have different variables, then that means that there are going to be 2 motivated parties. Kerry-Ann can't travel, so she's going to miss home even more. And Jack, who makes this product in Jamaica, and Jack, who makes this product in Trinidad, can't sell outside of the local market. So they're going to need us. So double down. So after reading that, after seeing that, I said, we're hiring 5 more people. We're getting 2 offices. We're going hard into Trinidad. We're going hard into Jamaica. And we're going hard in the paint. And if we fail, we fail. But I think we're going to succeed, and we're going to have to be on our toes, making changes as we see fit, as the landscape changes. And we did that. But it was hard. 2020 was hard, but we got through it. We launched our MVP in January, which is just your minimum viable product, test it to see how the market responds. Made a lot of changes, and I think in September 2021, like right before September 2021, we feel like we had the right solution. So we started marketing, and then we started growing, and then we started growing fast. So end of 2020, we had 220 manufacturers, 3,000 products on the platform between two countries, which was a hell of a lot of work to do in the beginning stages of COVID. 2021, we're still in COVID. By September, we're at 450 brands and manufacturers. And I want to say 4,000 something SKUs. And then October, November, December, we started picking up. January 2022, we started picking up. I had to pause to catch up with the demand that we were having because my office wasn't ready for that amount of volume. Team wasn't ready. December was so chaotic. We had to take January and say, okay, this is where we are now. We're at a plateau. Let's celebrate it. Let's figure out what we need to have in place to handle this volume, and let's keep going. And now we're really doing great. And I have to thank God for that because the growth hasn't been easy. We have had millions of hurdles, it's only persistence and resilience why we're here still in business. And now we're looking at end of the year and next year with a lot more optimism and a lot more courage. So that's the story.
Yeah, Caribshopper, I mean, the challenges, it's all on scale, right? Because I had my challenges in 2020, 2021. So I can't imagine the scale, adding logistics, COVID protocols on top of all of that from a logistical standpoint. So, the wharves in Jamaica, all of that shenanigans and dealings and navigating that on a country by country basis. So without going too deep, can you talk about one or two of those challenges that's applicable to what anyone is possibly going to face in whatever entrepreneurship endeavor they had and how you got over it and what advice you would give to anyone starting a business? And then I can tell my Caribshopper story. Kadion don't even know the story yet. So yes, talk to us a little bit about the challenge. Since everybody need a mentor, let you be the mentor for the moment.
Okay. So if I'm being the mentor, if you want to be an entrepreneur, not even an entrepreneur, you gotta find people in your corner that you can learn from experience. It's number one key because challenges will come, issues will happen. You won't know how to deal with it. 9 times out of 10, you're gonna make the wrong decision in how to deal with it. Having a good and safe area where you can talk, you can be open, you can let your guards down and say, I don't know what to do, and be comfortable with it, and have people who are vested in your success go find the answer themselves if they don't have it, or reach out to different people and open doors to find those answers is critical. It's like the multiplier effect that you need in your life, even if you're not an entrepreneur, even if you're just a 9-to-5er, and we're all going to have challenges, right? One of the challenges we faced in 2020, I think for me, I'm very aggressive naturally, very competitive, very aggressive. And I had to understand pace, and I wasn't operating on my normal pace. And so defeat would set in at times when I'm not defeated, right? So I set out goals that really aren't the goals I should be setting, right? Really understanding the baby stages, really understanding the creep. I think if we boil everything down, right, controlling our mental capacity is probably the most important thing in any relationship, in any business, in anything, because we're the ones that set our expectations, not the world, not your mate, not your kids. You set your expectations. And so when you set these expectations and you don't measure these goals and you don't hit those goals, you become disheartened, you become depressed, you become anxious. Think about it, Kerry. We're all growing up. We're like, by 30, we're going to get married. And by this time, we're going to be retired. And by this time, I'm going to be a millionaire. And by this time, I'm going to have my first kid. This time, I'm going to have my second kid. And I don't know who life has happened for like that. And if you take those lessons, like just your personal life, things that you're in control with, right? Things that you think you're in control of, right? and, apply that to trying to solve a problem for business wise and be successful at it and setting these goals. I remember I had team meetings and I was like, okay, we're going to close 50 merchants this month. And people were looking at me, he's crazy. We're having Zoom calls. I'm like, yeah, we have Zoom calls, 25 people on the Zoom call. So we have a Zoom call every single week. We vet them and we sign them up. And no, it didn't work that way. Some months it was 10. No, we're getting applications out the door. We're not calling anybody anymore, right? But I had to be constantly recenter myself. And now I'm more patient with myself and my goals. I'm more patient with the growth, just like I'm patient with my kids, right? Okay, 8 months they don't walk yet, no problem. Them have time. Okay, over a year now, we have a problem. We have a problem. You better start walking right now. You better start.
Listen, come, chop. Listen, when I was 6 months, me don't walk on the road.
You see your sister? 7 months, she was walking. You gone 9 months now. Brother, you have to figure this out now. You have to start walking.
I love what you said, because in 2020, 2021, on my scale, what I do, it's dealing with that. I remember someone on my team, Sarita, my friend from high school in Jamaica, I would get upset when I don't meet a deadline. And she would say, Kerry, who you tell about the deadline? Nobody. So if you miss the deadline, who go know? So you can change it. But because, like you said, that ambition, that drive, we set it, we want to make it, and, we let it get to us. But the thing I want to ask you is, there's a thing that creeps up when we miss those deadlines, defeat sets in. You talked about the mental capacity, but let's name it. What happens when the second guessing sets in?
No, that's doubt, man. That's doubt. That's fear. That is all your imperfections coming in, and anybody who sits across the table from you and say they don't have it, they're liars. We all have it. Shit. Sleepless nights I'm having. Shit. Did I take my nest egg and am I going to blow it away? Am I going to be a papa very soon? Am I going to fail at this? You have it all. I mean, every day there's a new challenge, Kerry-Ann, and you just have to be measured. You just have to be measured. You can't let that be what you think is going to be the end of the world. Be the end of the world. It's not the end of the world. Like, recently I had a big blow in June, and June was an amazing month for the business, and I had a big blow in June. So I'll tell you, we lost Tasty, and I was just like, you know how hard I worked on building out cold storage out of Jamaica. Like, we're the first company that you can order a cold storage pack, and we have other products coming out, and it deliver right to your door, cross border.
We gonna talk about it.
I hope it's a good story, because shit, it is what it is if it isn't. And, got called into a meeting and they want to pull it. What's going on? Let's work what's business? And then it becomes a technical thing with all sorts of things. I mean, I don't think I can disclose that right now, but it wasn't primarily anything that we done wrong. It's business, it's insurances, it's liabilities, it's so many other things that are probably insurmountable unless they take a different view to it. But 6 months before we launched that, I convinced FedEx to put Jamaica on their list to move cold storage packages. And that was such a blow to me. Nobody has an idea of what I did to make that happen, to move patties cross-border. Like, they can't do it on their own. Like, they can't do it today.
The merchants themselves can't do it, but us going to Jamaica can.
Yes.
But I'll tell that story. So everyone, Caribshopper, how you describe it? You can describe it as a marketplace.
We are the marketplace for authentic Caribbean-made goods.
Exactly. So, true story. So Kadion said, Kerry-Ann, we have everything on the website. I say, I like a certain type of bulla, because I'm a bulla connoisseur, and you may not know about this bulla. Kadion said, go up on the website and look, man. Maybe it's on there, and if it's not on there, well, we can see how we can make it happen. So I said, So when I went on there and I saw it, I said, okay. Because what I used to do before that, if I didn't go to Jamaica, I would send out my mother-in-law, my friends, and they would have a hard time going to the supermarket to find this particular brand. That same brand of bulla, they had a hard time getting it. And I saw it on Caribshopper and I said, all right, boom, I'm going to buy it. Because in my head, I was like, okay, I don't have to go to Jamaica to buy it anymore. So said, so done. The yummy old time bulla was there. My brother was having a bad day. So I said, all right, I go hook him up, buy him a bulla, buy him some banana chips, buy him some true juice and send it up and package it up. And it was the best feeling when, first of all, but let's back up. So when I saw the shipping, because I thought that there was a warehouse in Miami or somewhere that was gonna send it. So when I saw they got the shipping alert, and I'm like, wait, but at Jamaica, this is shipping from, like, what's going on here? And the best feeling ever when my brother sent me a text, because he called me and I was in the middle of another podcast recording. So it was just text upon text. And he was like, true juice, heart, 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 bulla, heart, 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 banana chips, heart, 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 heart. And it was just like, sis, you're not even in the game, but you're winning today. You're winning. That's this.
Big sis won.
Big sis won. Like, you know, for me as a big sis, it was just an awesome feeling. And that's what Caribshopper
is.
That's really the product.
Yes.
It is that experience or joy. Because that's why I carry a whole bag separate from my suitcase to pack food in when I'm coming back.
For sure.
Because it's the connection, that emotional connection to those goods, to the food, the nostalgia. And so then here my mother, I see the box come, you know, and I said, oh, maybe he buy it. And then she said the true juice, and she bust my brother true juice because I bought a different flavor for her. But she just said true juice galore. So she just feel like it's bonanza. It's bonanza. So she's like, them have me cream crackers. I said, no worry, mommy. I already sorted out. They have exactly the brand that you want. And she's like, okay, just get me cream crackers. And even in that, right, there's a level of specificity that, or affinity people have to certain brands, right? So she has a particular brand. And no, I'm like, all right, Caribshopper go save me and my husband the trip for go out the road, for go find the cream crackers and ship it to Wisconsin. Now I can do all of that. So I wanted to share that story because it's less about the products. It is about that, but it's me being able to bring joy because I know what they want and I could see it on the website. And yeah, I said to my brother, just make sure that you use my little coupon code so I can get my points when you buy. But I wanted you to hear from my experience.
No, man, that's amazing. That's amazing. And I love that. Like, one thing that I have to always do is one of my mentors said, always jump on the phones. So sometimes I jump on the phones for customer service, or I pick up, or when I see the tickets come in for issues, which we have issues, be the one to resolve it. So I stay connected to the customers. I remember one customer cussing me out. She cussed me out. She's from New York. She cussed me out. She said, I thought I was going this and it was bun and cheese. And we had so much Easter bun orders, and the bakeries couldn't keep up with the demand. And so we were delayed. And she was like, you're going to make me miss Easter. And she cussed me. And I'm like, sweetheart, we're going to get it to you. We're dealing with the backlog of the bakeries itself. And, my things are not going to take my money. And I'm like, no. And I remember calling the team and said, listen, put an extra X, Y, and Z in this latest order. And when I saw that the product was delivered to her, I called her back and she was talking. She was just so excited. You could hear her she's like, I'm a nurse. I work in 14 hours a day and this just made me happy. And it was just energy to keep going, right? The other day, I jumped on the phones and there's a customer from Hawaii. She orders legitimately every single month. And she's like, every Jamaican, every Trini is ordering on your platform. And we have customers in Alaska and Hawaii. And I'm like, tricky.
Yeah.
Tricky.
But the joy, already I know. So my mom is coming to New York. So she already know, okay, I don't have to buy this because she can order it online. And I was just like, yes, but for us and I get not everybody's like us, but we're serious about where we go to Jamaica, we defend the food. We're serious about it. So for us, all right, there is another way for us to get the treats that we want. And, that was a great experience, my brother. And I keep that message.
No, man,
And I
that's
was just like,
awesome.
oh,
That's awesome. That's what you
so,
call happiness right there.
I'm going to put the link to Caribshopper. You all should check it out, whether you're from Trinidad or wherever. There is something on there that you remember as a child that you used to love and you want, whether you want the Jamaican, you're on the patty. My mother icing the patty already, Kadion, Lord Jesus. But anyway.
Kerry-Ann, you know what's interesting? Take away the nostalgia. But if you look at the prices for some of the sauces, and we know how things are made in the islands, they're made way better than the food that we consume in America.
Yes.
I'm not even saying this to be a salesman. If you start looking at the prices, and I remember when I moved to New York is like connected to the Caribbean culture. But when I lived in San Francisco, couldn't find anything. You have to start substituting, right? You substitute everything and you figure out, and you change your taste buds and you figure it out along the way. But, I've seen some comments from some customers that, like, my food tastes better. I know using the right curry. Just don't to that. Like,
I peep that better pack.
People in Hanover is better pack all day long. Like, one day I'm gonna make a post like, which curry powder is the curry powder, and people in West have a
better pack,
and people in Kingston have a different curry they support. It's just the way it is. But you curry chicken,
I love
but
it.
I'm a better pack man because I grew up.
Yes, you ever said better pack. That's where we come from. Kadion, this was a really great conversation, and I know we can have so many more conversations around entrepreneurship, but I really wanted the audience to be introduced to you and the platform and the work you're doing. And of course, them can make a initial order and try. But the other thing that I see that you're also doing is, which we'll talk about another time, is how you're enabling entrepreneurs to reach more customers.
Yeah, that's the goal.
And that is, so I spoke about my experience as a customer, but from the merchant end, there's so much that we could dive into on that end, but that is the key, because I think the enablement is going to be key for entrepreneurs of Caribbean heritage, because in a way, that's also like in our DNA, the product, the making of stuff and how we distribute that is huge. And you're really doing a good job using your network to reach a wide audience. So, big ups and kudos to you and your team.
Our mission is to help the brands scale. And if we can do that, then by association, we're going to be successful. And that's coming from a deep place for me. So it's a mission. And we have a merchant meetup every month. And just to hear the satisfaction from some merchants, even some merchants, just having an idea or just going through a tough time and seeing an email saying you got an order from Caribshopper, it changes their whole outlook. Could just be the one little thing that helps them to say, I'm going to keep doing this, because we all have setbacks and all have issues. And like I said, 60% of the merchants on the platform are women, and they're kicking ass with everything else they have going on. So if they can push through all of these challenges and get to where they are and make the amazing products they're making, so why can't somebody push through and help them to scale internationally? Nobody's helping them. They got to do it themselves. Nobody's coming to save you. At the end of the day, if we stay true to the mission, like I remember my social media manager says, or meet the merchant posts get the least attention. I said, in time. I want to change it to posts that are more engaging. I'm like, no, whether it's engaging or not, we want to tell the story of that merchant. At a certain point, people are going to start looking at those posts. If you look on our social media, you'll see it. And if it's in order, meet the merchants, they get not a lot of engagement, and maybe we have to change the format. Maybe we have to figure it out, but we're not going to stop it, right? When we send a little post of the funny stuff or whatever that's catchy, that's trendy, we get a lot of engagement. But when we talk about the merchant and how they started, what they're doing, why they're doing it, people don't like to read. So maybe we'll start doing video. I think that's what we're shifting to right now. But we're going to do it, whether it's popular or not, because we have a mission. Stick to it.
Thank you. So before we go, tell everyone where to find you and Caribshopper online. I'll drop it in the show notes, including my link for to go buy something.
Nice,
Thank you.
nice. I love it. Please, yes, get that link out there. So Caribshopper is www.caribshopper.com online. And then if you want to look us up on social media, it's at Caribshopper. And for me, I'm at Kadion P. I'm very private, so go ahead and add me. But yeah, we hope to bring the community together in a different way. So we look forward to hearing your feedback. Like Kerry, that made my day today, by the way.
Oh,
That made my day.
it's my pleasure. I like making
No,
people's
man,
day.
that made my day today. That made my day. I like those stories.
Yes. Yes. And, we'll always hear from Kadion because I'm sure I'm going to have him back on the podcast because I feel like he's a wealth of knowledge, and having started business and, going through this process, I know for a fact that he can be a really great value and resource for people who are mentored through the show anyway. So Kadion, again, thank you for being on the podcast. And I mean, on a different level, there's a lot to learn from you. So anyway, as I love to say at the end of the show, walk good. The Carry On Friends podcast is produced by Breadfruit Media, and new episodes are available every other Tuesday morning. You can listen to the podcast on the website, carryonfriends.com, or you can listen on Apple Podcasts, iTunes, or wherever you like to listen to your podcast.